right. We are here with Sergeant Major Dave McMillian, the MIA hunter, and we're talking about what's coming up tomorrow's show. We're going to do this is another little preview we're doing, and we're going to be talking about Tim Page and Dave McMillian's
Yes.
relationship with him and what they did over in Vietnam and what they were doing it for. So with Dave, we're very glad that you're in here tonight, and we certainly appreciate what you've done in this field. Could you tell us a little bit about Tim Page and what your relationship with him was like?
Well, yes, sir. Well, the first I ever heard of Tim Page was I saw the documentary called Danger on the Edge of Town, which was about his search in 1989 in Cambodia for the remains of his close friend Sean Flynn, and also Sean Flynn's colleague Dana Stone. They went missing together in 1970 in Cambodia. So Tim had known Sean since about 1965. Sean was a famous movie star. He was the son of Errol Flynn and Lily Demeter, the French film actress. So Sean showed up in Singapore in 1965, bought a U-Butte camera and decided to go over to Saigon and become a photojournalist. He got sick of making films. He was like a B-grade movie star. And hi everybody. Hello America, hello Australia. Just giving you guys a background. So, old Tim Page, man. What can I say about Tim Page? Well, I had friends in Saigon that had known Tim. And when I arrived in Saigon, when I was 24 years of age, I read the book Dispatches by Michael Herr. And in the book Dispatches by Michael Herr, it talks about Sean Flynn, Dana Stone, Michael Herr, and Tim Page. And these guys, they were referred to as the Saigon Cowboys. They were these really interesting, crazy group of journalists, crazy brave journalists, Americans, Brits. And these guys would go out, they would jump on their motorcycles and ride out to the enemy lines or ride out to where the battle was, and they would cover all of these battles. And, you know, in Vietnam too, there was a lot of helicopters, a lot of choppers around. So these guys would just jump on a chopper and fly out into a war zone and take photographs. So I read Dispatches, and I'd first heard about this story from the Clash album Combat Rock, 1984 record that has that song Rock the Casbah on it. There's also a song by the name of Sean Flynn on that album. A really interesting song that I never quite understood. I asked my father, hey, who is Sean Flynn? He said, that was Errol Flynn's son. So when I read Dispatches, it kind of told the inside story from Michael Herr's perspective. And I read it. I was in Saigon. I was going around the same places where these guys had been in the 60s. And this is when I moved there. It was like 2004. So there was still, at that time, Vietnam hadn't really developed like how it has now. So I could still reach out and touch the history to a large degree. So I read Dispatches, and then I had a friend who was a very famous French documentary filmmaker called Othello Khan. He's the son of Quasar Khan, the man that invented inflatable furniture. He's a very famous French designer. And Othello said that he could introduce me to Tim. So Tim was doing a photo exhibition at Othello's place in Saigon called Cantina Central. And then I was introduced to Tim. And Tim and I clicked straight away. Tim started taking photographs of me. And then he found out, you know, that at that time I was only a private security forces in Vietnam. But even to be a private for a foreigner is a very big deal. And Tim knew that I could speak Vietnamese fluently, and he knew that I was a researcher that was very well connected. So he said, hey, maybe we can start to work together, and, you know, I could teach you some things. I could tell you some things about the old days. So Tim and I started hanging out. Some people owed Tim money, and at that time, he was an older man, and he was not really in the zeitgeist at that time. People didn't really know about him. He wasn't really there was kind of a lull in his popularity at that particular time. And then so Tim asked me, you know, I need you to be my researcher, help, and I need you to help me get around Saigon. So I used to have this red Honda Joker motorcycle. I used to go and pick up Tim, and Tim used to be on the back of the motorcycle with his camera with a telephoto lens on there and a whole bunch of different lenses. And see, Tim had been injured in the war, and he was disabled on his left side, and he used to be on the back of the motorbike with his left side was crippled, and he would have the camera, and he'd be taking photos. And in Vietnam, there was always a lot of traffic, and instead of me stopping where the traffic was, I would, with Tim on the back, if there was a traffic jam, I would just go up to the sidewalk and go, boom, jump the sidewalk, boom, and hit it. Tim would be on the back. He'd be pissing himself laughing, and then he'd be like, what are you doing? What are you doing, David? You know, we're supposed to be on the road. We're not supposed to be on the sidewalk. I'd be like, sidewalk surfing, and then we'd be driving along singing just making up some surf song on the spot about sidewalk surfing in Saigon, and Tim would just be taking photos of all the people that were staring at the crazy side of this young foreigner on a red motorbike with an elderly photographer on the back, like speeding on the sidewalk, taking photographs of everybody. And so Tim and I were hanging out. The first time we were hanging out, we hung out at the Continental Hotel in Saigon, which was very famous because Tim used to hang out spend time with Larry Burrows, a famous photojournalist that was shot down over Laos during Operation Lam Sum. And Burrows used to live at the Caravel Hotel across from Continental, and Tim and him used to hang out there. So Tim invited me to come and hang out at his suite at the Continental Hotel, which also used to be the office of Time Life magazine. So, I mean, reaching out and touching history, it was an amazing time, and there'll never be a time like it again. And that's why it's so sad that we lost Tim. It's like when they say when an old person dies, like the Library of Alexandria burns down. With Tim, it was really like that. And the first time Tim and I were hanging out, this crazy event happened. We're at this Nepalese restaurant. We had something to eat when we were driving back. It was the first time that Vietnam ever beat Singapore in the Asian Soccer Cup. And there was a lot of betting and a lot of craziness going on. Tim and I were riding along. Tim was on another motorbike following me, and we accidentally drove into an ambush. So I'm on my motorbike, Tim's behind me, then this guy was pursuing another man on a motorbike. And so there's one motorbike sped past me, and there was another guy came up behind me on a motorbike, and there was a gunman on the back of the motorbike. The gunman just started going bang, bang, bang. He fired like 2 or 3 shots. And really what should have happened is I should have been fucking hit. I should have been shot in the fucking head, or I should have been shot in the spine or something like that, part of my language. But I don't know how I didn't get hit. And Tim was right behind me, and he saw it. Tim saw the shots being fired. And then so I was freaking out. I was shaking, but I couldn't move. And I thought I'd been shot. I just heard the shots bang, bang behind me, and I saw the muzzle flash. And somebody had a K-54, like a communist pistol, like a Tokarev type of pistol, and they were firing it. And then what happened was we come up towards the traffic lights, and the person that the gunman was shooting at crashed his motorbike. And then the gunman jumped off the motorbike, ran up and grabbed this guy by the scruff of the neck, held him down the ground, put the gun to his head, and went to pull the trigger and execute this guy in front of Tim and I. And then these 2 Vietnamese police came over and smashed this guy in the face with the bat, disarmed him, held him down to the ground, and tied him up. And Tim and I are just in the middle of this. Tim took photos of all of this. I don't know if he's I don't believe he ever published it, but this is the first couple of days that Tim and I were hanging out. This happened when we were on the way back to his hotel. And afterwards, Tim was like, mate, that's fucking crazy. I don't know what it's about you, but when I hang out with you, these things happen, like the things that used to happen when I was here in the war. Like for some reason there's like this air of excitement around you. And then he said, can I inspect you? Can I inspect you on the motorcycle? I was like, why is that? He got off, he had the camera, he came up, he's looking around, and he's going, it would have been much better, David, if you ended up with those bullets striking your motorcycle. So why is that? He said, the value of a motorcycle with a couple of bullet holes in it would be tremendous, David. The story, it would be an even better story if those bullets had hit the motorbike. I was just like, well, I'm just fucking grateful that they didn't fucking get me off my motorbike, Tim. But yeah, this is the type of guy that Tim was. He'd seen combat all around the world, specifically in Vietnam and Cambodia, but he'd also spent time in Afghanistan, and he was a photography teacher, amazing photography teacher, and he taught me how to take photos. So yeah, that's basically the first time that I met Tim, and then I became his researcher and debt collector all throughout Southeast Asia. And Tim decided, when we found out from the American government around the time Tim and I started working together, that the remains that he'd found in danger on the edge of town in 1989 were not the remains of Dana Stone or Sean Flynn. So Tim thought that he'd resolved that mystery for 25 years, but then when he and I started hanging out, the lab confirmed that the remains that Tim had found in 1989 were the remains of Clyde McKay, this guy who was a mutineer that had hijacked the USS Columbia Eagle, and this ammunition ship that he handed over, taken from the US, smuggled firearms on the ship. This guy was a big fan of Charles Manson, and then he was held at this prison on the river of the Mekong Delta, banks of the Mekong Delta. He'd escaped with this other deserter by the name of Larry Humphrey, and these guys went to Kampong Cham. They'd been held there and killed. So for years, everybody thought that the people that were held in Kampong Cham were Sean and Dana, but then Tim and I found out, well, it wasn't. It's Clyde McKay. So Tim and I were like, okay, well, this puts us back to the drawing board. This started this whole the bones of contention. And Tim had some documentation from a famous American journalist by the name of Matt Frangiola. Matt Frangiola had interviewed this guy back in 1975, this defector called Heng Peng that went over from the Khmer Rouge to try to go over to the southern Vietnamese side just before the southern Vietnamese side fell. And he said that he worked at this hospital over in Kampong Cham, and that there was multiple people held and executed at this hospital. And it was the best lead that Tim and I could possibly imagine, because just before that time, there was a book published in America by the author Jeffrey Myers called Inherited Risk, Sean Flynn and Errol Flynn in Hollywood and in Vietnam. And in the final chapter of that book, it said that Sean Flynn had been killed in a village called Pak A Dong, according to some documentation that Jeffrey Myers had gotten from Yuk Chang at the Documentation Center in Cambodia. So Tim and I were both connected with Yuk. So I went into the Khmer Rouge archives at the time when Yuk was preparing it for the war crimes trials, the Khmer Rouge War Crimes Tribunal, and I found 17 different documents which were talking about Sean Flynn, or somebody who looked like Sean Flynn, and this Japanese guy getting killed out in Kampong Cham. So Tim and I decided that we were going to look into it, and then Tim ended up just going to Afghanistan, and then I had all the documentation ready to go, and I said to him, man, I want to go in and check this out. And at the time, he said that he didn't have the time and wasn't interested. And he just told me, I'm not interested in doing it or whatever. He was very non-committal, and he was rude to me, I must say. At that time, he was very dismissive, like, I don't know, I don't think it's real, and blah, blah, blah. You're probably just wasting your time. Let's not do that. So I decided to do it by myself. And then that red motorbike, I left at my film agent's house in Saigon. And then my film agent, he was representing this new actor that had come in from the United States, this hillbilly redneck friend of yours from around your area called Scott Brantley, the man that had played Arthur Bremer in George Wallace, and he'd been in Against the Wall and all of this. So Brantley, by chance, had also seen danger on the edge of town back in 1989. And he said to my agent, whose red motorcycle is this? And my agent said, oh, that's that crazy Australian guy, that crazy Chukta, which means hillbilly in Scotland, that crazy half Scottish, half Australian hillbilly. And he's in Kampong Chum looking for the remains of Sean Flynn. And Brantley said, well, I thought that had been resolved. I saw danger on the edge of town. He said, oh, no, yeah, he works with Sean. He was working looking for Sean Flynn and Tim Page, but they found out that the remains were the remains of this mutineer. So Dave's over there looking for him. So I came back, and Brantley had decided that he was going to track me down and that he wanted to meet me. So I was at this girly bar up in Bungtao by the ocean where my dad used to live. And I heard that there was this American guy that I'd never spoken to or met before that was in town, and he wanted to meet me. So I said, okay, well, he can meet me at the girly bar. And I was a drinker at that time, so I was sitting there drinking. Brantley came in and he said, hey, man, I want to volunteer to come to the jungle with you, sir. I haven't met you before, but I know what you're up to, and I want in. Like, I'm an adventurer. I'm fearless. I used to be a circus clown, and I just got back from America. I've been sitting on the bank for like the last 5 years with a pistol and just, you know, warding off all these robbers and stuff. And my boss just sent me over here to do some stuff, and I got some free time and I want to volunteer. And I said, oh, man, I don't know. I like to do things by myself. I've been burnt by too many people. I'm a lone wolf type of character. And he said, man, you won't regret it if you work with me. What can I do to prove to you that we should work together? And so I said, okay, and I'll give you a task. And if you can complete the task, then you can work with me, then you can come to the jungle. So I grabbed 2 high bar stools, like the high bar stools that they have in the girly bars, and I put them 2 meters apart. And I said to Brantley, if you can jump from one of these bar stools to the other bar stool, land on the other bar stool, and not eat shit, not crash into the ground, then you could work for me. What Brantley didn't tell me at that time was he was a stuntman in Hollywood. I didn't know that. So Brantley got up and he perched himself on the edge of one of these chairs, and all of these girls in the bar were watching like, ooh, oh, Choi, he's gonna fall. And he looked at everybody, and then he jumped like a leopard and boom, landed on the other bar stool, but it kind of went like this, boom, 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 and then he evened out like a surfer, and everyone was like, whoa, the whole bar was cheering at him. And I said, man, you can work for me now, brother. Then Brantley
is the start of this incredible journey that we're going to take tomorrow at 7 p.m. Central here on the Tim Blaine Show with Dave McMillian, the Sergeant Major Dave McMillian, the MIA hunter. This is an incredible story. And what we've heard so far is just the tip of the iceberg, because it is we're going to condense it down to an hour, so it's going to move fast. So be sure and tune in.
Tune in, guys. Everybody's got to tune in. My friends in America, my friends in Australia, my friends in Vietnam, you all got to tune in. And Tim Blaine, thank you very much for having me on the show. Sir, I cannot wait for the full episode tomorrow. Everybody tune in, check out this teaser. This is D-Mac Haystack McMillian in Caloundra, in beautiful Caloundra, beautiful Sunshine Coast. Sending all my love to all the beautiful surfer babes, man, and all the cool dudes out there in the rocket world.
All right. Fantastic, Dave. We appreciate it. It's a very wonderful thing you're doing this show with us here on the Tim Blaine Show, and we would like to just thank you once again for that. We'll see you tomorrow. Everyone tune in. Over and out.
Yes, sir.